I'd like to bring this special council meeting to order. And Madam Clerk, are we having the national anthem? Yes. Would you rise, please, for the national anthem? Welcome everyone who's joining us on the YouTube. And we have a very short agenda today, but a few items of business that need to come forward and be approved, or at least move forward. We have all members of council here this evening. Deputy Mayor Diane Regima, 3 down on my right, and to her right, Councillor Adam Russell, to her left, Councillor Tony Brunet, and Councillor John Pachariva. To my left is Councillor Paul McPherson, Councillor Mike Mikulik, Councillor Lynn Timmers, and Councillor Greg Reimer. Thank you all for coming in early today. And we also have a number of staff that are here joining us, all staff related to the matters that are coming forward on the agenda. I'd like to begin by reading a safety notice. In the event of an emergency, please evacuate council chambers to the nearest exit through the chamber doors and obey all instructions given by the clerk. If assistance is required, please see the clerk. Once you've evacuated the building, please gather in the front parking lot outside of the town hall. Also, the Town of Lincoln Committee and Council meetings are posted on our YouTube channel. And I would like to thank the public for attending this meeting this afternoon, and just want to remind everyone of our rules of engagement, to please be respectful while others are speaking, and to please refrain from clapping. We have no delegations today, but just as a reminder, when we do have delegations, we will allow 5 minutes to speak, and the delegations are asked to stay focused on the agenda item. At this time, I'd like to read the land acknowledgement. The Shannonton people have called these lands home for thousands of years, and more recently, the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee have been sharing the land as one dish, one spoon territory area. One dish, one spoon treaty territory. We would like to acknowledge the enduring resilience of the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people who call this territory home. There are no announcements. Anything, Madam Clerk, that has been added? There are no presentations, and there are no recognitions and achievements this afternoon. Councillors, are there any declarations of interest? There being none, there are no delegations. And we move on to recommendations from standing committees. We'll now consider item 9.1, which is the General Business and Finance Committee minutes of March 4th, 2019. And they are included in the circulated package. Councillors, are there any comments to any of the matters in the meeting of March 4th? I think the most significant presentation that evening was the presentation on the Industrial Lands in Rural Areas Community Improvement Plan. It certainly demonstrates a lot of promise in the future in terms of our inventory and how land could be used and the incentives that we can put out to new investors in that area. I have a motion moved by Councillor Mikulik and seconded by Councillor Timmers. Approve the following recommendations from standing committees. Do you want me to do both of them? Oh, I see. I understand. Okay. I understand how you set it up. All right. We'll move on then, council members, to item 9.2, the Committee of the Whole budget meetings of March the 4th, also in your package. Are there any questions or comments regarding those minutes? Councillor Pachariva.
Thanks, Your Worship.
Councillor Pachariva.
Thanks, Your Worship. Overall, as your budget chair, I'm happy with where we've landed. A bit of a surprise at the last meeting with our add-on for tourism, but I remain confident we've delivered a good budget. What is driving our moves? Our budget. Lincoln continues to grow. We need to invest now to ensure we develop our community in a way that is sustainable and considers our long-term needs. We are experiencing growth lag, meaning that our revenues from new development will lag behind the costs. But we know that, and we have a plan. Also of note and important in telling our story, Lincoln's tax bill accounts for 3 agencies. In addition to the town of Lincoln's portion, 36% of the tax bill, property taxes pay for the delivery of community programs and services by the Niagara region, including waste, 51%, and the school boards, 13%. The impact to the property tax is a combination of these 3 agencies, often referred to as a blended rate, and this is what a resident will see on their tax bill. This year's blended rate is 4.45%. Important to note that while Lincoln's percentage is a bit higher, you will consider it's only 1/3 of your property tax bill impact. And Lincoln's overall tax bill portion is less than Niagara Region's dollar portion. Niagara Region's dollar portion overall is half of your tax bill. I look forward to implementing the recommendations that we brought up in our capital and operating budget, and I look forward to putting the staff to work now that we've got the budget done. So thank you very much.
You're very welcome, Councillor, and I would also like to thank you for your work as budget chief. It's never a pleasant task it's a task that has to be carried on for several months, weeks and weeks of work, and it can become quite onerous. You can't always predict what the outcomes are going to be or what's going to come in front of you, but I think overall, to the staff, they did a very good job, an excellent job of bringing us a good package forward, and it was really quite realistic from the outset. It wasn't, they weren't asking us to consider masses of increases and then try and get it down to something that was reasonable. They came to us with a reasonable budget, and we fine-tuned it even further. So thank you very much, Mr. Kirkopoulos, and to the staff. Are there any other comments? All right, I must make sure I'm doing the Moving in the right direction here. Now I have a motion. Moved by Councillor Mikulik and seconded by Councillor Timmers. Approve the following recommendations from standing committees. General Business and Finance Committee's minutes of March 4th, 2019, and Committee of the Whole Budget minutes of March 4th, 2019. Your pleasure on the motion. All those in favor? Any opposed? The motion is carried. All right, councillors, move on now to the regular agenda. There are no announcements. There are no motions to receive and file information items. There are no confidential items. And we have one bylaw this afternoon. A bylaw moved by Councillor Timmers and seconded by Councillor Mikulik that leave be given to approve the following bylaw. 2019-22 water and wastewater rates and charges 2019. Are there any questions? Councillor Mikulik.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to staff. Looking at item 5 regarding miscellaneous charges, I see there's a flat fee of $110 for a temporary hydrant other connection. First question I have is, what is exactly, how long is temporary? Is that a day? Is that a week? Is that 3 months? How long is temporary?
Director Graham?
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. Basically, what this item is referring to, when there's construction activity in the town, say a new development occurring, a new subdivision, and they're putting in new water main pipes in the future roads, they need a water connection to fill those pipes as part of their disinfection and commissioning process. So this is where the town would issue a temporary fire hydrant connection for a contractor to have access to town water. And in terms of being in place, it kind of depends on the magnitude of the work, but it could be there for a couple weeks, depending on how long the disinfection process and flushing is required. So that would give you a rough idea on duration.
Okay, so this isn't something where if I wanted to fill my swimming pool up, that I could just call the town and say, hey, I have a fire hydrant in front of my house, can I hook up and fill my pool and not have to pay the wastewater charge?
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes, you're correct, Councillor. This would be more focused for large construction projects, and it wouldn't apply to anything like you were referring to, being a resident with a pool.
Okay, and then, as far as the rates and the fees that were determined, how do these fees and rates get determined, and how are they relative to other municipalities? Through you, Madam Mayor. Perhaps to
you.
finance.
Madam Safani.
Through you, Madam Chair. The rates are determined by Watson through our rate study that we do every 5 years. So my understanding is that they look to other municipalities in reasonableness and look to determine that fee. And then there is the variable cost as well for the water usage, not just the connection, but then the actual water usage as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Any other questions? I've read the motion. Your pleasure on the motion. All those in favor? Any opposed? The motion is carried. I have a motion to approve the proceedings of council. Moved by Councillor Reimer and seconded by Councillor Russell, that leave be given to introduce bylaw 2019-23, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held Wednesday, March 6, 2019, being read a first, second, and third time. That bylaw 2019-23 be enacted and passed, and that the mayor and clerk sign and seal the said bylaw. Pleasure on the motion. The motion is carried. Ladies and gentlemen, you may recall that in the past term of council, that at the end of each meeting, I had a few comments, and I'm going to return to those comments today and in future meetings before the adjournment. I want to remind you that you live in Lincoln, a community of encouragement, where every citizen strives to be a good neighbor, and where children and youth are encouraged to achieve their very best, where business contributes to growth and the sustainability of our community vision as a place to grow, a place to prosper, a place to belong. Thank you for welcoming us into your homes. The business of this council having been completed as circulated and posted, the special council meeting is now adjourned. Thank you. Thank you, Council.